The photograph you're looking at on the screen right now is of a small female child dying of starvation with a vulture in the background. Now, that photograph was taken by a famous photographer called Kevin Carter. And Kevin Carter subsequently committed suicide many years later for some of the things he saw as a photographer in the areas that he worked. But the story behind this photograph is that Kevin Carter stood there for 20 minutes waiting for the ideal picture. He was actually waiting for the vulture to spread its wings to look like some sort of angel of death, and that was the ideal shot he was waiting for, but that didn't happen. So this is the shot he ended up with. But the interesting fact was Kevin Carter was stood there with 3 other photographers. And they were stood there, as I've said, for over 20 minutes, and not one of them intervened to help the child. They didn't pick the child up, they didn't offer the child any care, they didn't take the child to somewhere where it could get nourishment and food and drink. And they didn't do this for valid reasons. I'm not making a judgment call here. I wasn't there. And one of the things was, in those days, photographers would be told not to touch people who were in those positions because of the risk of catching infection and probably other things as well. But they stood by. And this is known as the bystander effect. And the bystander effect, or the bystander theory, is that the larger the group of people, the less likely you are to help and intervene if someone is in crisis. So if you're walking down your high street and you see someone collapsed in the street and you're with a group of people, the larger that group, the less likely it is you'll intervene, even if you are trained to intervene. So even if you are a first aider or you know CPR, you're less likely to do it because of another theory called the diffusion of responsibility theory that says the larger the group, the more you will diffuse that responsibility onto someone else to help instead of it being you, and you leave it for someone else hopefully to call 999 or to offer some sort of assistance. So the basic theory goes, the larger the group, the less likely you are to help. Okay, the smaller the group, the more likely you are. So if it's just you and a friend walking down the road and you see someone in crisis, you are more likely to intervene and offer help because you're not affected by the peer pressure of a larger group. And this is where, cultural issues can actually come into play. And we have organizational issues where we've heard recently in organizations where lots of people are acting, in a not good way. And part of this will be because of these theories. Okay. Now, what has it got to do with us? We teach use of force things. We teach self-defense. We teach physical restraint, handcuffing, conflict resolution, etc. Well, I think it's a really important thing because for me and for you, for many of you good people out there, we should all be doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do, irrespective of what other people think. And we have a lot of pressure in our society right now to conform to certain groups, to conform to certain organizations that say this is the way you should do things. And sometimes that's at the expense of the best interest of the service user and the safety of the member of staff. And we all need to be big enough to say we're not doing it. Otherwise, these theories I've talked about affect our decisions not to do something. And I get phone calls, I get messages every day from people saying, I don't agree with this. What's happening with it? Who's challenging it? Well, we all need to challenge it, whatever it is. Okay, so if you don't agree with something, then stand out. And the more people that stand up and stand out, then the more you'll be heard. And can one person make a difference? Absolutely. Yeah, one person can make an absolute difference. But these theories abound, the bystander theory, the diffusion of responsibility theory, and the less you do what you should do, the more these theories come into play. Now, one thing I'm proud about within the NFPS family, and the NFPS family is just the name we give to everyone that trains with us that's involved with NFPS, is that they all help each other. So we have good people in this organization that all support each other. So within one of the groups we have, one of the support groups, if someone needs something, it's given to them freely. Okay, if they need to challenge something, they don't agree with the decision, the support's there and it's forthcoming. So you're never left alone. You're never left out on a limb. You're never going to be that child with the vulture standing behind you if you get involved with us. Now, that's not to say that we're unique. I'm sure there's other organizations that do that out there. But what prompted this video was I was scrolling through a LinkedIn feed last night and I saw someone who'd posted on there that they were suffering as a result of the job they'd done and they'd had to retire on medical grounds. So the point of this is, look, if you need to talk, if you need help, if you need support, get in touch. You're welcome to call me. You're welcome to message me. You're welcome to drop me an email. I'll help you to the best of my knowledge and ability. I can't guarantee you I can provide all the answers. But if you need any help and support, there's a shoulder and knee here. Okay, thanks ever so much. You have a great week, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.